Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast, where our mission is to get more people that look like us participating in the real estate industry.
Whether you're a seasoned real estate pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone here.
I'm Anita Wong.
And I'm Tiffany Lee.
We invite experts to not just talk about real estate, but also about our unique identity as Asian women and the cultural values that shape who we are as investors.
Now let's get on with the show.
All right, guys, welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Lee. Anita Wong is on maternity leave. Today is a very special episode to me because we're repping my neck of the woods, the East Coast. Here with me tonight are my Brooklyn boys, Ray Tran and Jonathan Li, that I have met through the SARE network. But I'm sure that if we didn't meet through SARE, us all growing up in Brooklyn, we would have met some other way, or we have friends of friends. But
you've probably seen each other and not known.
Probably at Atlantic City, probably gambling somewhere.
We're bringing there already,
or at the basketball or handball parks. One of those in Brooklyn.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So a little bit more information about my boys here with me tonight. Ray Tran is a financial literacy school teacher, wealth coach for his personal brand RT Invest, and real estate coach at Zen Coast University. He's also a real estate investor who resides, again, Brooklyn, New York. He enjoys sharing his personal stories, investment knowledge, and firsthand experience with fellow SARE NYC members to help them get started on their own real estate investment journey. Ray has invested in primary residences, BRRRRs, which we'll get into that acronym later, joint venture flips, commercial deals, private money lending, and much more. And also, fun fact, Ray and Zen Coast University also sponsored our SARE New York City March meetup, and it was a blast. We had such a great turnout, and we'll delve into what you talked about that night, and so as a companion to Ray, I actually introduced him to my other boy, Jon Li, because I knew that they would vibe super hard. And Jon has been a really good friend of mine for 2 years. We've met through SARE, and in that time, we have collaborated on deals together. I have helped him lease out some properties of his. He does amazing work, and that's a true testimonial on my part. It's coming straight from my heart. And we are actively looking for acquisitions to help build out his real estate investment portfolio. But, that warm intro aside, Jon Li is the CEO of Elite Construction and an active New York City multifamily real estate investor. He is a licensed general contractor in New York City and is actively renovating within the 5 boroughs, including his own projects. He has worked on new buildings, interior build-outs, residential, commercial, and commercial renovations. When he's not operating his business, he is actively looking for distressed properties, preferably 1 to 8 family buildings, and he renovates and leases them out as long-term holds. Jon has also invested in BRRRRs, house hacked his own Brooklyn primary home, solo flipped, which was originally supposed to be a buy and hold, and he's done new joint venture opportunities in New York City and much, much more. Fun fact about Jon is an avid Knicks fan and hopes to see his Knicks finally take the chip this year.
Let's go.
I don't know about that.
What's the line on the sports betting for the Knicks to win anything?
I don't know, but I'm taking it, win or lose.
What are the
When was the last year the Knicks won a championship?
1973.
Okay. Yeah. None of us were born.
None of us were born. I've never seen. So, fun fact, guys, I've never seen a championship in my life, and looking forward to seeing one this year.
Or one in your lifetime.
One in my lifetime.
I remember in high school, I used to throw the LJ sign after
That's
that
right.
4-point play.
That's
right.
right.
Best right. Memories.
That was great.
Question. How'd you feel during the whole Linfinity thing?
Who you want, Ray? You want to start first?
You're the Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Dude, Linsanity was crazy.
Oh, did I say Linfinity? I meant Linsanity.
No,
He's the other guy that we have doing syndications. So that's like top. I meant Linsanity.
Yeah. Honestly, Linsanity was literally like a movie out here. Like the whole city was vibing. I had fun fact, I'm also a season ticket holder. I had a couple tickets at the time, and I mean, it definitely helped, like, you know, my flipping strategy that at that time, but it was crazy.
How?
Literally, all right. So
The man was crazy.
like when you are a season ticket holder with the Knicks, and you know, I'll plug everybody here, like usually every game is above market value. Like if we buy it for like $100 a ticket, it'll probably it'll probably sell out for like a 150. During Linsanity, it probably went up like 4 or 5 times. Like it was sold out. The Garden was sold out every single night for about a month or two. It was insane. I had to go witness it myself one time, but it was so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Crazy.
were you?
Crazy
I was a
time.
teacher. I was a teacher then, and
Yeah.
pretty much everyone just come up to me. They wouldn't call him Mr. Tran. They'd go, "Yo, Jeremy Lin." And like you go to the basketball court, you play ball. Every single Asian person is Jeremy Lin. That's really what it was. We actually did a school trip.
Yeah.
During Linsanity, we sat, you know, the nosebleeds, but we actually went, and it was a great time, and it was just beautiful to see an Asian American.
Yeah. Asian American
stage
representation.
in
Yeah.
major sports in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hearing his story, and it was amazing. Like for everyone, whether you're a Knicks fan or not, just a great story.
Yep.
Yo, fun fact, I used to date Jeremy Lin in college when he was at Harvard.
Cat.
That is big cat.
True story.
Can we get him on to confirm that story?
He won't, because it's embarrassing to date me, and I'm
Oh, okay.
I can't seem to fathom this. Like, is this actually true?
It's true.
Do we have sources to confirm this?
Dude, it was like what we went to school like I was class of 2010. We're both born in 88.
Yeah.
I would go visit my friends at BU, and the BU and Harvard kids would party together, and we met, and he was just like into basketball. He was not a big deal back then, but like, you know, the potential.
I mean, he's like 6'3", so he's a giant.
He's kind of a big deal already.
Yeah, he stood out for sure. Yeah.
He's a good looking dude.
Yeah, I'm fucking with you guys.
You seem jealous, Jon.
I never did. I was like seeing how far I can push this. Like I was like, they don't believe me. Well, let me like just craft the bluff and see if like maybe it's believable towards the end. By the end, you guys were like, really?
Jon was getting excited.
Yeah, I was like, damn.
You know what's funny? The way to impress guys is to say that you dated an athlete that they admire, and all of a sudden you're like the coolest chick, like you by proximity. But nah, that was really funny. When you guys watch the video, you watch your faces change as I was just like bullshitting my way through the story.
Everybody that knows me knows that I'm like super gullible. So like, you know.
Yo,
Yeah.
y'all started with like, not cap, I don't believe you. And I was like, listen, it tracks. We're the same year.
Yep.
Like I could have friends at BU. I would go party with them, and you know. Yeah. So, all right, let's jump into the questions. Like that's fun dilly-dallying there.
Yep.
All right. So speaking of games, what got you both into the investment game? Who wants to take
for
this
me,
yeah,
it was just getting out of the rat race and growing up as a first generation American, having immigrant parents. I was sold on this American dream. You know, Raymond, do well in school, get good grades, and that doesn't mean 80s. That means like hundreds. So you come home with a 95, they're like, what's that? So really do well in school, graduate from college, get a good job, get married, have kids, and then work until your 60s. That's the dream that we're sold on. So
you did 3. Well, how many things was that? You've done most of it. You're just not working till you're 65. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's
you took
true.
out of the checklist.
That's true. I mean, I guess I don't currently own my primary residence, so I don't have that. But you know, I did have a couple primary residences that I've recently sold. So my father came here from Vietnam, and both my parents worked really, really hard. And my whole life, I thought I'd be in finance. I'd be, you know, making a lot of money in Times Square. And I got that job out of college. So I actually worked at Ernst & Young doing finance there. But after a year, I knew it wasn't for me. And I ran into a college friend that said that he was a teacher. He was happy. So I was like, I want to be happy. So I decided to become a teacher. to give me a platform to actually make a difference. You know, it sounds really cliche, but I just wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And a month after that, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So it was a really tough moment because I saw what my dad went through, at least as a child. And that American dream, he never got to retirement age. He never got to see his kids get married, never got to meet his grandchildren. So for me, that was a real big turning point to figure out how to get financial freedom, how to start investing to be able to buy back that time, retire early. And that's how I got into investing. And I started off with stock market, investing money in stock market, and real estate seemed like a great idea. So like most people, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, listened to Bigger Money podcasts, and I was really inspired by all the stories out there, how people were unhappy in their W-2 jobs. They were able to quit their job, replace their income, and more. And it was just something that, all right, this sounds like a good path because, you know, I don't want that 40-year working life. So that was kind of how I got into it.
Right. Did you flip kicks also at some point? I feel like you told me that.
Yeah. So when I quit my job, my corporate job, to become a teacher, I took a big pay cut. And I wasn't really worried because I've always been a hustler. I mean, I flip kicks, but for me, you know, I sold Nintendo Wii's, PS5s, you name it, like I've done it. So I wasn't really worried about making up that income enough. Plus, as a teacher, you get your summers off, get out at 3 o'clock, all these breaks. So I just worked a lot more just to make up for it.
Yep. These Brooklyn kids, we're hustlers, man. We've got that grit that I feel like, not to knock, but totally to knock the West Coasters, SARE New York City members. Y'all too soft, dude. We will find a way to navigate and make stuff work because we've got that grittiness. Like you guys read the forums, right? A lot of people are complaining about how to like manage bad tenants, and they get super soft and go from 0 to 10 about it. And we're like, dude, where's the hustle here? Where's the street smarts? You don't know how to like maneuver your way around a conversation to get people to like do the thing you want them to do. And I feel like that's what's cool about New York City kids is we know how to talk to people from a diverse range of backgrounds and not just like the little like rich kid bubble that these West Coasters are on. Sorry, not sorry, other SARE New York City, not New York City, other SARE members that aren't from the East Coast.
We're built different.
Like we built different. Beast Coast forever. Okay, anyway. So John, speaking of which, didn't Jeremy Lin get traded to like the Warriors? Is he still with the Warriors?
He got drafted by the Warriors originally, or
no?
He didn't get drafted.
I'm not too sure. He was undrafted, but he was picked up by the Warriors. I think he got waived. He got waived a couple times.
He got waived a couple times by the Warriors.
Right, and then he got to the Knicks, signed a 10-day contract. Our point guard at the time was hurt, and then he had an opportunity to play a little bit, and then the rest is history.
You know, this is your chance. You have to show out. So he was like,
exactly.
You know what I remember from that time? Like they said he played different. That like the other guys did it like, I guess like standard players. This, by the way, I don't know shit about basketball, but this is what I remember from the narrative was that like his lines and approach to the game was different, so they didn't know how to play back at him. Is that true?
I would say they didn't really have the scouting report on him, so they didn't really know what. And then Mike D'Antoni was just, you know, all about his guards creating. Right. So he just ran a ton of pick and rolls, and Carmelo Anthony was out. So pretty much Jeremy Lin just ran the show, and it worked, and everyone just kept going with it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Here's a fun question for you guys that we just discovered. How would you compare that to a real estate investment? If he was basically a market disruptor in the game at the time, right? Would you see it that way? Or is that a stretch? And I'm just trying to like get y'all to be creative with it.
I like where your head's at, like trying to connect this to real estate. Yeah, I think, you know, market disruptors in real estate. You know, I've only been in the real estate investing game for about, 10 to 11 years. But from what I've seen, whether there's disruptors or not, I'm a firm believer in long-term holds. And I think the real estate market continues to trend upwards, similar to what the stock market is. So, my answer would be there isn't that much, effect to it as long as you have a long-term view of things. So, yeah, Ray.
I think there's definitely short-term disruptors, especially the interest rates.
Yes.
Many people stress about the interest rates. Oh, they're high. Should I wait? And to be honest, like the more seasoned investors just take advantage of the high interest rates because there's less competition out there. So it's really just, when they say, be greedy when everyone's fearful. So that's just like something to like keep in mind. At least that's what I think.
Yo, Ray, now make that a poker analogy. You're stealing the pots that nobody wants. You sniff out that nobody wants it. You just bet and steal it, and you're just gathering chips.
That's what seed betting is, right?
Seed betting, and also when everyone just checks. Like,
It's free money. Just take it. It's there for the taking. Just take it.
Exactly. Calculated risk taking.
And if you don't get it first time, you got a triple barrel, right?
Exactly. Yo, if you're gonna run a bluff like what I did to you guys with the Germans, and you're like, I don't believe you. Then as more time went by, I just kept firing like, nah, guys, double barrel. Yeah. There we go. Triple barrel bluff. I had you guys right here. Y'all were gonna
podcast. I'll say you had me. I'll say you had me, all right? Make you feel better.
Good fun. All right. So, okay, here's a fun question for John. You said that New York generally appreciates up. Do you also feel that way about Knicks season tickets?
Yeah, I do think that. The good part about this, and I think you guys can understand this, it's me being like a season ticket holder, I'm grandfathered in. So I guess in real estate analogy terms, if you have a house, you have an asset. So you're grandfathered into that asset, right? And assets appreciate over time. Similar to Knicks tickets. Knicks tickets will appreciate over time. This year I've seen an increase in my sales. I try to make it, the whole point of me getting season tickets wasn't originally to, invest in it. It was for me to go to games when I can. And, with my lifestyle now, it's kind of a lot harder to go. But when I don't go, yes, tickets have appreciated over time.
Nice. All right. So we've taken a lot of like sidetracks here, but John, tell us how you got into why you got into the investment game.
Yeah. First off, I want to say, Ray, proud of you. I can totally resonate with you and, how you were brought up. I was very much in a similar boat. I'm first generation Asian American. My parents came here in the late 70s, early 80s. Another fun fact, my great grandfather, I just found out this year during Chinese New Year, my great grandfather is an American war veteran. But that's another story. That's a story for another day. But yeah, how did I get into the investment game? Out of college, I was stuck in a salary job, a 9-to-5 job. And, I was capped out with my potential. So I was immediately, throughout my life, I was always looking for different streams of income. I saw that my parents, who are, they are a proud homeowner. They have two investment properties to their name. And I saw that as an inspiration for me to try to create my own path through real estate. So I started going to these real estate networking events about 10, 11 years ago. And I met a guy who felt like there was an area in Staten Island at the time that was still affordable. And so that started my investment game. I bought my first property out there. We could talk about that later. But yeah, over the years, I've realized that, the goal to financial freedom and quote unquote passive income is through real estate. And so I tried to find the right properties to mimic that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That takes us to our next topic. So BRRRRs are a fairly popular way for most starter investors to jump into real estate. For those of you that don't know what BRRRR stands for, it means buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So So I know both of you guys have experience with BRRRRs. How did you pick the market that you wanted to do a BRRRR in, and I guess what worked, what didn't, what did you learn, any drama? And then Jon, I know that you do a lot of your own rehab, so I want to hear your stories about any construction challenges that you ran into. So take it away, guys.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
You're the expert.
Okay. Appreciate that. As you guys all know, like there's a lot of stigma regarding like investing in New York City, whether we can do a BRRRR in New York City. And I can safely say that, yes, you can, but there are a lot of factors regarding it, right? There are a lot of different things to consider. For me, I was looking for a multifamily that was able to achieve a high cap rate. I was looking for a very dilapidated building. I was looking for an A area type neighborhood. And so I ended up finding a place in Industry City, which is a very up and coming area. I found a 3-family building. This was around COVID, around 2020. At that time, people were very scared to invest. People were hesitant to even get back into the market. But for me, I thought it was an opportunity. I thought that the rates were at a very reasonable place. I think I was able to get my loan there in the low 3s. So I was able to get that place in contract for about $750K. I renovated it through my own team. I have my own in-house team, pulled out the proper permits, signed it off. And then I was able to rent it out. And about a year later, I was able to cash out refi. So that's my story.
So I'm going to let Ray take numbers. Huh? Sorry? What'd you say?
You want to hear some numbers or it's
we'll keep it high level for now because we're running. I know Ray has to sign off at in 5 minutes because he's got dad duty that he has.
I got more time.
All right?
He's like, nah, this is fun. I'm gonna keep going.
No, we can keep going. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Let's run it. Overtime. We're going into overtime, guys.
Final table. Let's go.
We'll cut this. We'll cut all this. This is fun.
This is fun, right? See, I told you guys, I was like, we're just going to improv our way and find funny jokes here and there. And it's going to run longer than we initially planned. But so when you hit that refi part of a BRRRR, as an investor, do you care what the interest rate is when you do your refi?
Great question. So as you know, the rates were really, really investor friendly in 2020 and then 2021. And then when 2022 hit, I think, right? Was it the middle of 2022? End of 2022?
Started creeping up.
Started going crazy. So I did my cash out refi after I fixed my place up in 2021, in 2022. Just to give you a couple numbers, I purchased the property for about $760K. I renovated for about $280K. I was getting about between $9,500 and $10,000 a month in the 3-family. And so it was cash flowing under my current loan at 3.5%, somewhere in the low 3s, over a $600,000 loan. And I was really happy with that. But I realized I have a lot of equity built into this building, right? Once you fix it up, you have a lot of ARV value, right? In my opinion, I thought the building was worth, after I'm all in a little bit over $1 million, I thought the building was worth 1.8, 1.9. So, I was curious to see if I can cash out refi. So that's when I started shopping around. I was able to figure out a cash out refi deal for myself. I got it appraised. The appraisal came back a little bit lower than I wanted to, but I knew very strongly that the building was worth this amount. The appraisal came back, building was worth about 1.7 something. Again, still very good, right?
Yeah.
Still very good. I'm about a little bit over $1 million in. So I did about a 60% LTV. pulled out about a little bit less than $1 million of a loan out there. So basically, my cash out refi, I was able to take out my initial money from the amount of money that I invested into the building, and I was able to have a check for about 350 to 400K for another property to invest in. So currently, I have a loan there on the building for about a little bit less than $1 million. My monthly payments are a little bit over $5,000, and as you guys heard before, my monthly rent is about $9,500 to $10,000. So I'm cash flowing there pretty positively. The rate is about 4.75 after I bought the rate down, and I bought the rate down because I know that I'm not going to be touching this loan for some time. So I'm willing to pay up for a better rate. To let it appreciate over time, right? So, and as we know in today's market, that was probably a good decision because we know rates right now are pretty wild. So yeah, that is my BRRRR strategy in my industry city property.
That's like a parlay, right?
Crazy, right?
If you go to sports betting, that's 100% a parlay.
Yeah.
You're doing it in a sequence, and you're like. Yeah.
It is a process.
Yeah.
You have to have, like, if there's anything you guys, like, anybody could take out of all this, is real estate is a process. You have to be patient. You have to wait for you don't have to wait for the right time, but you should jump at any opportunity given to you. And you never know when that's going to be. If you run the numbers right and you feel confident about it, don't hesitate to take action. And that is really what it came down to for me. Yeah.
And I think for newbies listening, there's always a lot of trepidation about getting your feet wet. So you can always, I think part of it, right? Ray had said before we started recording that relationships are so important, especially with SARE New York City. We have all this opportunity to network and get to know each other and potentially partner with, other locals in the area who might have similar aligned interests as yours, but you'll also meet other investors who may have more experience that can take you on under their wing. You can be an LP, but if you trust their knowledge and their abilities to be strong operators, you can learn while they're taking the investment from point A to point B. So, spoiler alert, that's kind of what we're going to be rolling out for you fine folks listening at home at some point as part of our SARE New York City programming is leading with education. And if you want to get your feet wet, we're happy to help advise in any capacity, or you can join us in our projects, which would be a very streamlined way for everyone at home to learn passively. Like Ray is a teacher, so he is going to really break it down and be super transparent with the numbers. And you've got Jon, who's great with the ARV. So any construction hiccups, he's on it. And then as far as having a very discerning assessment of what properties are trading for, what they can rent, you've got me who will I can comp out any market, even if I don't live there. That's my dirty little skill.
It's a great skill to have.
It's a great skill to have. I can underwrite stuff that in Connecticut, I don't even live there. Anywho, that aside, yeah.
I can safely plug Tiffany and say, I could probably say that because Tiffany has helped me rent out a unit in the industry city property that I thought was a $3,000 unit. She was able to rent it out for $3,500. So props to Tiffany.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate
that. So she does her due diligence on all her rentals, all her sales. So don't hesitate to reach out to her.
And a part of that, right? And if I can weigh in on my expertise is positioning the property correctly and making sure everything looks like the pictures are nice, the listing copy is nice. So that way you can demand that more premium pricing that you're putting out there. And Jon does such amazing work that I wanted to make sure that his construction quality shined in the photos. So I do professional photos from the unfurnished ones, we did virtual staging, and that makes such a huge difference. And of course, you have to price it correctly as well. And if it's a hot market, and a lot of times the rental market in New York City is very cyclical, I try to advise him to like get in during the spring, summertime when you'll get the higher rents. And if for some reason like you're stuck in the winter market, I try to push the tenants to do like an 18-month lease. And I position it like, hey, you'll get the competitive winter rent for like 6 more months. But that way, from the landlord's perspective, it's a win because he's coming back into the marketplace or doing an increase when the rents are at their highest for the year.
I love that 18-month idea. I mean, me personally, I went through a bunch of vacancies throughout the winter.
Yeah.
So I listed things towards the end of the year, and I was carrying all those costs for months. And what I learned from that experience is you can't always time it, but try to get it in like spring, before school starts. So people find they want to get into certain school districts. And in the winter, it's cold. People don't want to go anywhere, especially in the East Coast. So that's definitely a great idea. 18-month lease. I love it.
Ah, is that a new thing, a new little play that I added into your playbook, Ray? I'm glad I was able to add some value there.
No, I mean, there's always opportunities to learn, right?
It's cute little negotiation moves here and there, like a poker hand. It's like little
Only
check.
because it's cute. Only because it's cute.
It's a cute play. I like. Yeah, it's my fave. All right, that actually takes us talking about us doing a teamwork type collaboration. I'm interested in hearing what kind of joint ventures you both have partaken in. So I know Ray, Jon, you've both probably done like a JV flip before. What do you look for in a JV partner? How many partners are there? What worked, what didn't? Was there any drama because there were multiple partners in play? I want to hear about that. So who wants to jump into the JV question first?
So first, I want to say that in real estate, there's 3 types of currencies. There's money, there's knowledge, and there's time, right? So most people have 1 or 2 things and they're missing a third. So for me personally, I had the time, I had the money, but I didn't have the knowledge. So even though I wanted to do BRRRRs, I wanted to do all these projects, I needed to get that knowledge out there first. So I actually sought guidance and coaching myself. So I actually went through Zen Coast University, which offered mentorship, coaching, network, and a whole community of people that is filled with like-minded individuals that are all trying to get that passive income through real estate. So from that, I was actually able to do, so Jon talked about BRRRRs, but I was actually able to complete 4 BRRRRs in 2023. And so in terms of takeaways, I mean, like you said, it is a process.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out the way you want. I've done a couple of refis. Some were better than others, but I think people have to think about if they want cash flow or appreciation. And for me, I was more towards the front equity and the appreciation. So I was able to get that through my BRRRRs. But before I did all this, I actually did JVs and private money lending. So for me, I saw a lot of people that did flips, and I was like, that all sounds great. I don't know how to do it, but I'm interested. So I had a college friend that was a real estate investor, and he introduced me to some people that, specialize in flips. So I did a JV partnership where we actually purchased 2 properties in Ohio. So one of the things was the deal was I would fund 95% of the project, and we would split the profits 50-50, which may not sound great to everyone, but to me, I wanted to learn, I want the education, and I want the partnership to be able to build a relationship with that person. Now, the numbers, I invested $226,000, and we expected to profit about 48, and the actual profit was 27,000. So my cut was 13,500. Now, in addition to that, I also took out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, to leverage that because I didn't have $226,000 in my bank account. Most people don't. So I leveraged my HELOC, which I was paying about 3% of interest-only monthly payments. So for that, it cost about $4,000. So my actual profit was a little under $10,000, which comes out to about 8% return investment over the year. Now, people say 8% is okay. It's not great. True, it's not great, but I didn't use my own money. I leveraged OPM, or not other people's money, but my HELOC. So I think partnerships are great because, like I said, some people have knowledge, some people have money, some people have, the capital. So to be able to fill those 3 voids with different people is really great because you build that relationship, you build that trust, and you're able to take that moving forward to more deals and meeting more people. I think a lot of people focus on just making money, and obviously money is great, but the education that you could get from learning from more seasoned investors and the relationship you built, I think is even more important than anything.
Ray, how long did that flip take to play out?
So it was 6 months, and the timing was pretty much on point. So in terms of any drama, I would say there wasn't any real drama, but shortly after that investor stopped doing JVs. So I think, maybe he realized that he could do other things that would make them more money. But for me, I was like, if they're able to like flip this and us to make money, like they got to be doing pretty well, and they barely put any money in. So I became really intrigued with getting on the other side of it. I don't want to be. I want to be the person that does all the work, and I want to be the Jon Li's out in the world that's able to like get their hands dirty, right, and really do the work. So that's how I decided to pivot to the other side because I saw much higher returns.
Very cool. Have you done any flips lately? Or that was like early on in your investment journey doing the flips?
So one of my 4 burrs was originally intended to be a flip. And so we put it on market around October, November, and it didn't sell. So we dropped the price again, and we were like, okay, holidays are here. I don't really want to carry it. Let me turn it into a long-term rental. So one of the things about investment properties is that you always want to have different exit strategies. Now, things don't always work out. A lot of times they don't. You want to be able to make sure worst case scenario, you're still okay. So when I did my deal analyzer, I was tended to burr it, but I was like, worst case, I could long-term rent it and I'll still be all right. So I'm actually not cash flowing that property, but I did gain. So it was a $160,000 purchase. I put about $20K in rental, and I got appraised for $220. So I did gain $40K in equity, and that's really my play. So I gained $40K in equity, and I took a situation that was not doing well, and I turned into a positive. So I now have a good tenant in, no issues so far, and I was able to kind of pivot that. So I think for beginner investors, it's really important to make sure that worst case scenario exit strategy is still an okay option for you, because things don't always work out to be perfect.
That's like having poker outs. Always give yourself room and multiple opportunities to win. And you have to have
the fish. All the fish love saying that. I got outs, right?
Shut up. I'm sure 3-bet you all day. So
4-bet shove.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right. Anyway, depends on how deep we are. But anyway, so that's really funny because where was I going with that? Yeah. So in real estate investing, you have to be super nimble and be able to make game time decisions. If things are going south, you kind of have to let go of your original strategy and be like, you know what, this is a sinking boat. I need to repivot quickly. And I think that's a thing that can scare a lot of people who like to plan things way in advance. And I'm sure, as you guys have seen from how well I've organized this podcast ahead of time, that I'm one who only likes flying by the edge of my seat and improvising and doing these like little juke maneuvers as I go, because look at these amazing discoveries that we made along the way. This podcast now is so much more fun because we roughed it out together, and we're powering through it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Do you guys want to add anything to those thoughts before we move on to the next question?
Should we talk about my flip? Or?
Yeah, let's go on your flip. Oh yeah, because you said that. Yeah, so Ray had the inverse of what happened to you in Staten Island, right, John?
Yeah. So
okay, go ahead.
Going off with what Ray was saying, you should have multiple exit strategies. My first ever purchase was about 10, 11 years ago. I purchased a home in Staten Island, which I mentioned earlier. And it was not what I expected, partially because I ended up flipping it or selling it out. My whole goal from the start was to a long-term hold and play. And that's always been my approach. But, you know, how I got it started was I found a neighborhood that was up and coming. It's in the St. George Tompkins area in the North Shore. At that time, buildings were going for under 200K. So I found one for about 160. And at that time, I started understanding renovation and renovating, construction. I knew to fix up the property, it would cost about 60 to 70K. The original seller was a one-family user, but I realized that it was actually illegal too. So what I ended up doing was I ended up gutting the place out and fixing it up and renting it out for about $4,000 a month. And you can imagine how high that cap rate was. I don't even remember, but you know, I'm about a little bit over 200 something thousand dollars in on this investment property, but I'm getting like almost $4,000 in rent. I did Section 8 housing at that time. Unfortunately, I had one tenant that wasn't paying her portion, and it was a small part. She was paying about 80%, but like the 20% she wasn't trying to pay. And so I just decided to, you know, move into another direction, which was sell the place and repivot my strategy. It ended up working out because I used the profit of that building to purchase my current home right now, which I did a 203K loan in. And so, yeah, it ended up just working out in the long run.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, being able to be nimble, adjust your strategy based on how the run out is looking, which is your market conditions. It's very, very important to be a world-class investor like the two guys I have on this call right now.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, these guys are sharks, man. Speaking of sharks,
Tiffany loves the idea of one of my investments, which is a marina. So I'm an investor in a marina called Swan Marina, located in New York City. And we are in the process of building and furnishing out 4 houseboats. In addition to the houseboat, we also have a deck area that we can host events in. So I was actually approached with this opportunity by some of my closest friends in high school. And to be honest, I got in because of FOMO. I just didn't want to miss out because it just sounded like a great idea. And there's news in the last year about the whole Airbnb thing. So I kind of took a step back, but we don't fall under that issue. It's just that Airbnb won't let us rent it out unless we have certain licensing, which we won't get approved for. So we're gonna have to do private listings. But I think that it was a great opportunity for me to get into the short-term rental space. I've only done long-term rentals, and I think in real estate, it's really important to kind of get educated on different strategies and maybe kind of dip your feet in each one to see which one works out for you. But Tiffany, I think we're most likely going to host some SARE New York City events on Swan Marina. She
this
just wants
summer,
to play the song. I'm on a boat,
Yeah.
Great memes that she has already set up to throw out there when I'm ready for that. So that's one of my unique investments, I would say.
We're aiming for a SARE New York City August meetup.
Great, that's my birthday, so yeah.
It's my birthday too, so we could do the
joint birthday. We got 2 Leos over here.
You too? Are you August birthday, John?
Yeah, me? No, I'm a Taurus.
Oh yeah,
May baby.
Yeah, I think your birthday. Yeah, So Ray, would you say that the marina is like a huge lake right now?
It's a huge one. Yeah, I mean, it's in the works. We're going through furnishing. It's not open for listings yet, but we've also learned that the renovation of it the timeline didn't work out the way that we expected. I mean, to be honest, I've kind of expected all renovation when you call the scope of work, it's always about 10 to 20% over your projections. So for anyone that is looking to get into construction renovations, I mean, always have about 10 to 20% set aside above what you projected. So you want to make sure, and that's the kind of reserves as well, right? You want to have reserves, emergency funds. You need the reserves for your rental properties. You need reserves for your construction. So every single thing you have to be prepared financially.
All right, so that's actually a good segue to the first thing I wanted to talk about. If someone's not prepared and they need to borrow the money, tell us about your other cool investment, which is the private money lending. And then I want Jon to talk about how that can segue into a construction loan for people who need to renovate. Guys, for those listening at home, it's like 7:50 p.m. right now. So if I'm not formulating sentences, it's getting late on our end. But trust us, there's a method to this madness.
Trust.
But yes, talk about the private money lending, Ray.
Sure. So private money lending is a great way for passive investors to get involved in real estate. So there's a lot of real estate investors out there that lack funding. So they look for private money lenders. Basically, you get your agreement and a promissory note, which is backed by a real estate property, where the lender says they will lend you X amount of money for a fixed interest rate return over a fixed period of time. So for example, one of my first ones is I lent out $40,000. The terms were 10% interest after 6 months. So after 6 months, I got paid out. I made $4,000 from my $44,000 investment. That's 10% ROI, but annualized, that's 20%, which was great. In addition to that, the person I invested with also gave me a peek at what he was doing. So that to me was the biggest part of it, to get that education. So not only was I lending money, but I was learning along the way. And it also works with the other side of it, which Jon can segue into it.
Jon, take it away. Because I know, Jon, you want to talk about rental, but I want to see if you can segue from the private money lending into construction.
Yeah, so I'm about to be in a JV with a building in Lower Manhattan in the West Village, and some of my partners use private money lending to do a lot of construction loans, and it has worked for them. Most importantly, they have to really see how the deal is structured, and how much equity is involved, and construction is a tough business. I can speak firsthand as a owner operator of construction business, and also as a owner who has to do construction in pretty much every single one of my investment properties. There's a lot of there are risks involved, and there's a lot of unforeseen conditions when you look into properties, and that's why it's important to hire a real licensed general contractor to help you navigate some of these obstacles.
Just to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
To jump in, so a lot of people they get lending for their purchase, and most big banks won't really fund your construction. So you have to look at hard money lending, private money lending, and so if you're a investor and you're going through construction, instead of going through lenders where you have to give them documentation, pay points, pay X amount of interest, and go through all that, you can just get it from a private money lender and use it as a bridge loan to bring you through the construction. So it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot cleaner process, and also it's a win-win because the investor, the lender will be able to make money and they'll get to learn. And for you, it's a lot quicker, and you have to go through the whole process because with the way closings, points, all that stuff, it's a very long, and it could draw out. And even with hard money lending, they can be very sticklers about giving you your funding. They want to see every single stage of it. They want to see you
want to see a track record. They want to be able to trust you throughout the process. There's a lot of different ways to fund a project too. I think I mentioned briefly before, I'm about to be in a JV in a building in Lower Manhattan where I'm also the contractor and an LP in it. So that has benefited my partners in that deal as well, and also benefited me because I get to learn throughout the process. They're a lot more seasoned in terms of owner operators in the Manhattan area. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that you can do if you do JVs, and you can really just play multiple roles and play different hats as long as you're willing to learn and understand, like, it's a process, and throughout the process, there will be highs and lows, but the journey is worth it if you believe in the numbers and you believe that the market is going to continually go, appreciate over time.
Yep. There's upswings and there's downswings.
Always,
guys.
always.
Yeah. Wings and no limit.
So, yeah, exactly. That's my little poker analogy again. Even John, you see this in blackjack too, right? Like the shoe will get dry sometimes, and then that's when you bet less. And when it's a hot shoe, you start betting more. And I think that's really analogous to real estate investing too, where you know when to, like, you still want to acquire, but like you're spending less. Like, I see an analogy there as well, a parallel.
You want to stay consistent with, continuing to bet. And if we're talking about blackjack, like my approach is like, if I'm hot, I'm going to bet more. And like, if I'm on a streak, I'm going to continue to bet. And then when I lose a hand, that's when I start from the beginning again. So you have to ride the wave while it's there. It's sort of like stocks too, right? Like,
it's all long term. Real estate is very forgiving if you can wait it out. Like you can make all the mistakes short term, but if you have the capacity and the pockets that are deep enough to like wait it out, you typically see a return, which is so funny because like I almost feel like a lot of people who have real estate handed down to them, it's just being lucky. Like not every like I see this a lot, like with old school landlords. It's just like you have no business being a landlord, but you kind of fell into
grandfathered in.
You got grandfathered in, exactly. And it's just like right place, right time. Your family bought it like in the 1950 something, and it's still in your family. And just getting lucky. So why not start that for your own family? The best time, the best time to plant a tree was like 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So that's like real
best time to invest is now.
Yes, exactly. Yes. There you go. So we were talking about, unexpected costs, which is a good segue to a story that I know John wanted to talk about. Luckily, he didn't need to take a loan for it, but there was an event that happened after the acquisition during the hold.
Yeah.
We found out that one of your properties was in a flood zone. Yep. Let's dive into that. What's the story there?
Yeah. So, last year I picked up a property in the Red Hook area. For those that aren't familiar with Brooklyn, Red Hook is a very up and coming area. It's situated between Carroll Gardens and Gowanus. So there's appeal there. The only downside is that there's no transportation there. For me, where my property is situated, it is close enough where I still feel like transportation is still readily available. It's just right over the bridge a little bit. So I figured that was a good investment for me. The asking at that time was about 1.3, and I knew it wasn't going to move at that time because rates were already high. I was able to negotiate down to a little bit under $1 million. Mind you, it needed a full gut, right? It was, again, a similar situation to my first property that I ever purchased. It was owner operated. So it was a one family in a legal 3. I was able to basically gut out the entire space. And like we mentioned earlier, Tiff, there were unforeseen conditions where I had to replace some joists and repair some cellar work there. But after it was done, when it was near done, I had there was a storm in around September, as a lot of you guys in New York City know, that really messed up Brooklyn a lot. And that storm sort of got me to realize that I had a little bit of water in my cellar. So what I had to do was I had to install a sump pump down there and a drain. But thankfully, there was no tenant there at the time. I was near finished, and I was still trying to get my services in to the building. Put the drain down, and we're all good now.
Amazing. Yeah. And speaking of being all good, we're at time, but this was a great all good conversation. Thanks, Ray and Jon, for this amazing brainstorm meeting of the minds powwow this evening. For those who are local to New York City, our SARE New York City meetups happen monthly, and it's a great opportunity for local SARE members to network and potentially find real estate investment partners if you're looking to get your feet wet. As I mentioned earlier, Ray graciously sponsored our SARE New York City March meetup and was the keynote speaker on behalf of Zen Coast University, where he's one of the wealth and real estate coaches on deck. Jon and I also have historically run a monthly SARE New York City Sunday carpool that we're going to be bringing back this spring when the weather gets nicer. And what we do is we'll tour different property types in specific neighborhoods and talk through how a potential investment play could play out. And in addition to that, we'll have a companion virtual underwriting session where we'll analyze the properties that we saw. So there's like a little nerdy component to it, but your boots, we've got boots on the ground. So again, to reiterate what, the three of us had mentioned earlier, our collective goal this 2024 is to help more SARE New York City members get their boots on the ground and finally pull the trigger on their first investment deal, whether it's through real estate, whether it's through private money lending, or any of the avenues that we discussed today. And we want to lead with, our collective group knowledge. Feel free to reach out to us and pick our brains. So we're happy to, tell you guys what we know, guide you guys along. If there's any investment opportunities that we come across, we would love to have you jump in and educate you about what the numbers would look like. We're very transparent about all those things. And if you have something, a goal that you want on your own, we're happy to lend our expertise and insight on your strategy there too. So guys, if our listeners want to reach out to you individually, how can they do so?
So for me, you can reach out to me through Instagram, rt.invest, or you can shoot me an email at ray@zencoastuniversity.com. Any questions, financial literacy, investing, real estate, anything related to that, I can help you. Gladly help.
Awesome. Jon, how will they reach you if they need a renovation or gut rehab? Who do they call?
Thank you, Tiff. If you guys need any construction services throughout the 5 boroughs, you can reach me at Jon Li, JONLI, at eliteconstructionnyc.com. Our Instagram handle is eliteconstructionnyc. We've done a lot of extensive work throughout the city, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Fabulous. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Y'all have my contact info if you're in the SARE New York City mailing list. But I won't plug myself. This isn't that self-serving of a podcast on my end. But if you want to reach me, I'm in the SARE New York City group. You can DM me on Facebook. But thanks again, guys. Ray, Jon, this was so much fun. We should do it again.
Go reach her, guys. She's very good. I can tell you firsthand.
Aw, thanks, sweetie. All right. Well, enough of the circle jerk. I know Ray has to go. Put the little baby to bed now, so we won't hold you up any longer. But looking forward to hanging out with you guys some more in the future and meeting more SARE New York City members at the next meetup. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
The following is an important legal disclosure regarding the content of the SARE Ladies podcast. Entertainment purposes only. The content provided in all episodes of the SARE Ladies podcast, including discussions, opinions, interviews, and any other type of content, is intended solely for entertainment purposes. It should not be considered professional, financial, legal, or any other type of advice. No professional advice. The hosts, guests, and producers of the SARE Ladies podcast are not professional advisors. The content provided should not be relied upon for making any personal, financial, or business decisions. We strongly encourage our listeners to seek advice from qualified professionals before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast. No liability. The creators, hosts, and producers of the SARE Ladies podcast shall not be liable for any errors or omissions in the content provided, nor for any actions taken by any listener based on the information provided in the podcast. Any reliance you place on such information is therefore strictly at your own risk. No endorsement of investments. While we may discuss a range of topics, including investments and financial strategies, such discussions are for illustrative and entertainment purposes only. The SARE Ladies podcast does not endorse or recommend any specific investments or financial products. Consult professionals. We strongly advise our listeners to consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to their personal circumstances before making any investment or financial decisions. No association. There is no association between SARE Ladies and a guest speaker or professional. By listening to the SARE Ladies podcast, you acknowledge and agree to this disclaimer and understand that the content provided is not intended to replace professional advice.
Now on to the show. Thank you for tuning in to the SARE Ladies podcast hosted by Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review or follow SARE Ladies on Spotify and Instagram. And also click on our show notes to subscribe to our newsletters to stay on top of our news and upcoming events. Until next time, Pod Squatters.